'Tis Christmas Eve 2115 from Pluto into Mercury, with happy youngsters gathered round each holographic fir tree. The crowd from Earth has figured how to live in zero gravity, and boys the solar system's after getting proper maggoty. Now don't get hung up on details like how we're all still on the go. Perhaps 'tis 'cause we all eat Martian seals for all I know. But last year in 2114 there almost was no Christmas. It all started with a call I got from Santa's South Coast missus. The call came in from Franceway, and Mrs. Claus was in a state. "Dave," she said, "I got bad news, and I know it's getting late, but it looks like Christmas will be spoiled because of one curmudgeon. Santa's here in Franceway, and he says that he's not budging. The youngsters all will be upset, and presents will be sparse, 'cause he's always watching Game of Thrones and won't get off his arse. He tried to say his feet gets cold. I knit the man new vamps, and he's always going on about not getting all his stamps. The warp drive for his sleigh is all abroad into his shed. He loaned the impulse engines to his fishing buddy, Fred. He's out touring with the boys now, and I've done all that I can. Any chance that you can help out with the mighty 12 Elan? I'm on it, missus. Have no fear, I'll call the boys. We'll drop by Franceway now to once and pick up all the toys. I said, Hubert, Harry, Dave, come on now, boys, we goes. Matthew said he'd come along and play some tunes, he s'pose. Now, of course, the 12 would need some mods to travel into space, so I walled her in with Aspenite and made a comfy place. Next 5 great big breathing tanks were bungeed on the roof and primed with rum from St. Pierre up to 100 proof. Diet Pepsi next went in with scrunch and oxidizer. 'Twas all topped off with secret stuff that NASA prizes high, sir. I call it JD 902 and I make it now and then. 'Tis 9 parts of Jig's dinner steam and 2 parts oxygen. All hands was finally ready, so we darted down to Franceway and loaded up with planetary presents, plain and fancy. Then with the boys aboard I gave the starter cord a flick, and we blasted into space, hauling a mile-long comedy. Dave Penny navigated with his Cardian GPS, but he kept it in the minor keys till hyperspace, I guess. Breathing was a problem, what with sulfur levels rising. Too much cabbage in the breathing tanks meant we was almost poisoned. Now, not too many people live on Mercury or Venus, so we wasn't long on either place, and neither youngsters seen us. We took a dart around the sun and made a lunch to eat, but we lost a pan of bologna that was frying in the heat. Outbound again from Mr. Sun, the 12 was running great. We set our course for Mars and set our speedboard factor 8. Boys, I said, we'll be a while, so it seems to me that now will be a good time for a cup of tea and a wicked game of growl. Now, I don't know if ever you've played cards in 0G, with the kitty floating all about amongst the blobs of tea. You slam your 5 down on the table with a mighty pound and go flying all about the place 'cause no one lasts you down. And then there's all the usual stuff wherever you may be. Harry dealt a 4-card kit while Hubert wanted 3. When Matthew made a 15 bid, Dave Penny wouldn't have it. We almost missed our stop on Mars with all hands in a racket. But the Cardian GPS played D to tell us we were there, so we slowed back down for entry to the Martian atmosphere. In jig time, sir, our work was done. All Martians had their gifts, and since we were well ahead on time, I set some rabbit slips. Then we blasted off for Jupiter. 'Tis not some size, I know. Got bogged down in the great red spot in sloppy methane snow. A bunch of fellows from Ming's Bight showed up and shoved us out. Commuters in the methane mines, 2 weeks in, 2 out. Oh, yes, there's lots of our crowd out on Jupiter and Saturn. Captain Kirk was telling me last week the boys are always at'n. For cut-rate flights back home, but see his ship is in the slings. The engines on the Enterprise both need new piston rings. Now, the Saturn crowd and Jupitites live mostly on the moons. There's a whack of them, so it took a while to do their living rooms. They got a great big Walmart in a crater on Lysithia, and in the parking lot, a great big sign read, "Trees from Nova Scotia." Then, just as we passed Neptune, sir, we started taking fire. Darth Vader's ship dropped out of hyperspace, and there we were right by her. Boys, I said, this don't look good. I'd say we're cosmic toast. No sign of Buddy Skywalker now when we needs him most. Well, we waited for the final shot, the one to make us turn to flankers. But then that famous voice rang out. "Don't say that's Matthew Byrne." Turns out he likes the Dardanelles. Sure, he's their biggest fan. He only leaves the Earth alone 'cause he loves Newfoundland. And then he told us all to come on board, and turns out he's best kind. He'll give up acting nasty if we'll screech him in sometime. So if a Janny knocks and any mummers allowed in is what they say, he still got his lightsaber, so don't go guessing him right away. Then we said goodbye to Uncle Darth and all the boys, just as Pluto hove in sight, and Harry said, "What's that I spies? What were the chances, do you think, to see my friend out there?" "How are you, boys?" his voice rang out. "'Tis me, the Christmas Terror." "I'll take a spell," he said, and pitched down on our grapeling, and quickly made a gift of nice regurgitated capelin. He carries fresh and salt this time of year for Newfoundland exiles, but for his special friends he'll puke up pre-digested piles. "No thanks, C.T., I spoke for all. We just had the big old scoff of Mrs. Vader's toutins fried on the 12-land exhaust. We got one left if you would like. With good luck and molasses, we lost our blony in the sun. I suppose it's gone to ashes." By and by my friend took off, a jolly roving tur. He likes deliveries out in space, 'cause 12-gauge shot don't travel far. We set our course for home and hoped no others would detain us. One planet didn't need us, 'cause no one lives on Uranus. With the throttle set to half, we were cruising at warp 10, and with Christmas solved, it wasn't long till we were home again. Santa said that he was sorry and that he'd be back next year, but he thought he'd get a 12 and perhaps retire his reindeer. And so Christmas turned out fine, I suppose, except for one small thing. Uncle Darth showed up last week, all excited trying to sing. He got a set of light spoons, and from what Tom Power tells, he's headed out on tour, playing with the Darthanels.